If there were ever a moment that could shape the power structure of Russia, it would likely be the day the Wagner mercenary convoy advanced toward Moscow. The event lasted less than 24 hours, but its shadow continues to affect the leadership of President Vladimir Putin, who has always built Russia as an impregnable fortress. Yet, that fortress was unexpectedly attacked by a rebel once nurtured by the Kremlin itself. Yevgeny Prigozhin. The uprising erupted like an unforeseen drama. Prigozhin, head of the mercenary force famous across battlefields in Syria, Africa, and Ukraine, suddenly turned his spear toward his own homeland, Russia. The reason he gave left many both outraged and skeptical. Wagner forces were attacked from behind by the Russian military, and he, as a defender of warrior honor, was forced to act. No one predicted the speed of events. The city of Rostov-on-Don, a crucial military logistics hub for Russia, fell into Wagner's hands in a flash. Viral videos showed local residents watching Wagner's military convoy enter the city without encountering significant resistance. On the road to Moscow, Wagner did not hide their objective. They simply charged straight through checkpoints that should have been heavily defended. The atmosphere in the capital became suffocating, as if everyone sensed the political storm approaching. President Putin appeared on television with an unmistakably angry expression. Stab in the back. However, that battle lasted only a few hours. As night fell, the mutiny abruptly ended. There was no shelling at Moscow, no bloody clashes, nor the final decisive battle many had expected between the Russian military and Wagner forces. Instead, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, long seen as a close ally of President Putin, unexpectedly played the role of mediator, helping the two sides end the confrontation. What was the outcome? Prigozhin was guaranteed safety, and Wagner withdrew. Wagner fighters wishing to remain in Russia would be enlisted or disbanded. The uprising concluded with an agreement whose full details remain unknown to this day. The abrupt ending left international observers stunned. Some argued that the Kremlin master had conceded. Others said it was a cooling-off tactic to control the situation, with step-by-step handling the fall. But regardless of perspective, the undeniable truth remained. Wagner advanced alarmingly close to Moscow, and the supposedly impregnable security system revealed unbelievable vulnerabilities. The shock has passed, but the biggest issue is not whether Prigozhin was pardoned or where he fled, but the question of who is truly responsible for allowing Wagner to penetrate deep into Russian territory. The Russian military remained silent, as did defense ministers, who had been fiercely criticized by Prigozhin for months, offering no explanation. Chief of the General Staff Valery Gerasimov also said, the silence of these top figures fueling public suspicion. They believe Russia resembles a beautiful castle that is hollow inside. Is the Russian military apparatus revealing the stagnation and deceit that Prigozhin loudly accused it of? And the one-day crisis inadvertently turned those accusations into living proof. The Kremlin strives to regain an air of calm. In subsequent statements, Putin asserted that he still holds absolute power, that Russia remains united, and that the military and security forces remain absolute. But the big question still looms over the Kremlin. If everything were truly stable, how could 25,000 mercenaries advance so far? Some Western experts liken this event to the first crack in a large rock. The crack is so small that only the sharp eye can detect, but if not repaired, over time it could cause the entire rock to crumble. Though somewhat exaggerated, Putin's words accurately reflected the mood. President Putin's position is no longer as solid as before. This time, Wagner also could not overthrow the master of the Kremlin. But they did something more dangerous, proving that it was not impossible. From a political perspective, the rebellion was like a security test that the Russian government never wanted to face. It exposed cracks that had been concealed for years by the Kremlin's confidence. Local governors hastily ordered road blockades. The armed forces reacted so sluggishly that it raised doubts about whether they came to stop it or merely to witness. Russian citizens rushed to withdraw money and stockpile food, as if awaiting an event that could change history. In his speech after the mutiny ended, Putin maintained a calm tone, thanking the military and security forces for protecting the country. But through his expression and manner of speaking, his anger mixed with disappointment was clearly visible. After the crisis, many questions arose about Prigozhin's true motives. Did he only seek justice or aim to remove Shoigu and Gerasimov from the pinnacle of Russian military power? Some experts believe the rebellion was an internal warning that Prigozhin sent to President Putin. If the Kremlin does not purge the command structure he considers corrupt, then Russia will suffer even more defeats on the Ukrainian battlefield. Others believe that Prigozhin, with Russia's most elite force, thought he could overthrow the government with a bold strike. But whatever the motive, the outcome unfolded surprisingly quickly. A hasty agreement sent Prigozhin to Belarus, a small but ambitious country where Lukashenko could use it as a pawn to increase influence. No trial, no sentence, no public revenge. Everything happened so quietly that it made people believe something was being concealed behind the thick doors of the Kremlin. And then, as an ironic twist of fate, a few weeks later, the plane carrying Prigozhin fell from the sky. No one confirmed anything, but no one believed it was an accident either. The story closed in a manner typical of Russian politics. Swift, neat, cold, and with a hint of purge. The one-name mutiny did not change the situation on the Ukrainian battlefield, but it changed how the world perceives Russia's power. Russia's allies became more cautious, while its opponents could not hide their curiosity. NATO closely monitored all of Russia's moves after as internal instability in Russia always brings concerns about nuclear weapons. The Russian people are divided into three groups: those absolutely loyal to President, those silently admiring Prigozhin's boldness, and the largest group, those who remains, but whose eyes show they understand that Russia has just experienced a historic. Notably, even though the rebellion failed, the ideology Prigozhin sowed remains. The idea that power can be challenged, that seemingly inviolable names are not actually immortal. And this ideology, if it takes root in society, can sometimes be more dangerous than an armored convoy. For many years, the master of the Kremlin built an image of an iron-willed leader, one whom any opposing force would pay a price. But when Wagner advanced toward Moscow, the first thing to collapse was not a military base. This leader must consolidate the military, reorganize the security apparatus, and strive to demonstrate he remains the absolute center of power. But a crack has appeared. In politics, that crack could be a precursor to erosion, occurring so slowly that those involved do not realize until everything is too late. Some analysts believe the Wagner Rebellion was like a dress rehearsal for a larger scenario. The Russian armed forces subsequently tightened internal control, but no one can be sure there won't be a second Prigozhin. Someone reckless enough, ambitious enough, and with it to attempt what he did. Ultimately, even if Wagner dissolves, even if Prigozhin is gone, even if the Kremlin tries to close the chapter, the aftershocks of June 24th will haunt Russia for years. After the rebellion, if Prigozhin had continued to appear publicly, it could have further damaged the Kremlin's image and prestige. Perhaps that is why suspicions about his presence on the crashed plane are growing. But amid many opinions, no one can confirm anything. All may have to wait for time to answer.
Like the journey? Subscribe and join the next expedition.